Okay. So remember the first scenario. We're to calculate the average age of your top 5 favorite friends. And the goal is to determine their average, blah, 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 right? Now let's head over to IntelliJ. So here, I already have the main class set up. And this is something I showed in one of the videos. So you might do well to locate that video and watch that if this is strange to you. But what we want to go ahead to do now is let's look at what approach 1 would be like. The first approach would be to say int age 1, because we first have to declare it because we don't know what it is. Int age 2, int age 3. And we said we don't want to do this because if you notice, what we're doing here is we're repeating something that we could probably have grouped together. So now, based on what we know that we shouldn't do this. And how then are we to solve this problem? And so, just for those who would want to follow along, let me get rid of everything in this file. And I used the same previous file I used before, the housing application one, but I've just removed everything that is in the main.java. You might want to create another file and call that maybe old main or something like that, just so you have a new main file. So here, of course, if you haven't forgotten, this is a class. So we say public class main. And now, because we are not doing anything else apart from just public static void main, we want to have string. And now you can tell that this here is an array of strings, right? And the name of the variable is args. And that's just by the way. So now we have 5 different ages that we want to take in. We don't know what the ages are just yet. So recall, we said there are essentially 2 different ways, right? One for which you know what the ages are, the other one for which you don't know what the ages are. So let's do this. We say int, which is the data type. Again, if you haven't forgotten, we'd say the data type, the square bracket, right? And the variable name. In this case, the variable name we said is ages, right? We're done declaring. Now, how do we allocate memory? To allocate memory, we say ages, which is the name of the variable, equal to, we say new. That's how we allocate the memory. And we type int and the square bracket. Now, notice what happens when I do not specify anything here. If I keep my mouse pointer here, it's going to tell me array initializer expected. And so what that means is, I've seen you want to initialize an array, but I don't know the number of elements. What's the total number of elements in your array? Now, because we already know that this is we want to collect data from the top 5 favorite friends, right? So there goes our 5. And now you can see that we no longer have that problem. What can we easily do here? We can easily just print out and say println and say the total number of elements or the total number of ages is here. We say plus what. One of the things we can now do with this array is to get the length with this reference variable is to get the length of that array. And if we try to do this, if we run this program now, we will see here that we have the total number of ages is 5. And so that's pretty fine, no problem. Let's say now we've started collecting the ages of these favorite friends. And let's say I'm just going to write a comment here. Okay. We are done collecting the data. First friend, the top 5 ages. The ages of my top 5 favorite friends are, so let's say 12, 17, 16, 15, 14. Or let me just use 16 here. All right, so now we have this. How can we then, specify a particular, or let's say I wasn't able to get everything at once, right? And even though they are my favorite friends, but I was able to get one per time. One of the things we can do is to specifically, you remember we said that you can access these elements one after the other, right? You can access only one element at a time. And the way to access an element here is to say ages, which is the name of the variable. In square bracket, we want to find out which of these friends do we want to record. So this, even though this is element 1, it is index 0. So when we are assigning a value, we are not using the element here. What we are using is the index number. That is how we access this array. So 2 different things. When we are initializing, we are using the element, the total element. When we are accessing, we're using the index. So take note of these 2 differences, and they are very key differences, because if you mix things up, if you don't do it correctly, your program would not work correctly. So let's say we want to enter the age of the first person. We can say the age of the first person is 12. We've collected that age, right? And now, remember, I said that you can't just come here and say system.out.println and you say, oh, I want to get the ages of all the of everyone. If we try to do this, let's see what we have. I go ahead and I run this, and boom, this is what you get. What does this mean? This is just a hash code. And so this doesn't make any sense. And so this is why we said you cannot access everything at once, even though they are collection, they are a group, right? You think of it like it's a collection of something, right? But you can't access everything together. However, if we now want to print out the age of this first person whom we've collected, we can say the age of my top 1 favorite friend is, and here I say plus, which is concatenation, ages 0. When I do this, if I go ahead to run this, now you can see it says the age of my top 1 favorite friend is 12. Now let's do for the next one, ages 1 equal to 17. We can do for the next one, ages 2 equal to 16. And for the next one, ages 3 equal to 16. what did you notice just by me doing it this way? You probably are thinking, just as I'm thinking, like, so what then is the difference between doing it this way, right, and doing it the other way that you said we shouldn't do it? And you'll be correct to think that way. And there is a better way, actually. So we can take all this after we've gotten everything and just use the second type of array. And that's what we want to take a look at in the next video. But for now, just take note that to access or to assign specific element a value, you want to use the index here. However, to initialize your array, you want to use the total number of elements here. And we say you can also access, you can assign a value to a particular element by doing something like this. And when you want to print that out, you also do something like this, which we have on line 16, right? And also remember that if you try to do system.out.print ln ages, this is not going to give you what you expect. It's just going to print out some hash code for you. That's it in this video. We'll look at the scenario 2 and see how we can do that. I'll see you then. Bye for now.